But it was an unusually windy day. He could hear the wind whistling. And somehow, some way, he heard a voice. An old familiar voice. So he cupped his hand to his ear and straining and leaning forward, trying to hear what the voice was saying. He simply heard, "I love you." Bishop Herbert Smith said one time, he says, "I'm dirty, but I sure enough got it daddy. I'm going to arise and I'm going to go back to my Father's house. Why would I stay here in a pig pen? There are servants in my Father's house who have more than enough to eat. They have a place to sleep. They have a place to clean up. Why would I stay here when I've got a daddy who loves me?" You see, your testimony might not be like that boy who came to himself in a pig pen, but you might have come to yourself with a crack pipe in your hand. You might have come to yourself when you were in a bar. You might have come to yourself with a pistol pressed up against your head. You may have come to yourself in the bed of another who was not your spouse. You may have come to yourself with the convicting evidence in your hand. You may not have got saved in a pig pen, but you had to come to yourself. And the only reason why you're here in the house of God today is because of the tender mercies of God, which are new every morning. The smile of God that shines down upon us. He says, "Come home." So I'm saying to you, my brothers and sisters, don't forget the far country. Don't forget the far country. Because while you were in the far country, it helped make you who you were. In the far country, it helped molded and made and shaped you into who you are today. Because you learned the important lessons of life in the far country. I hear somebody's testimony from the back there saying, "Preacher, if it had not been for the far country, I would not be able to properly appreciate my Father's house." But what I love about this text next is that the journey coming back home was not near as long as the journey leaving home. The comeback trail began because he was walking away from the Father's house. The first thing he had to do was just turn around. And he took one step. And the text seems to indicate that while he was still yet a far ways off, my God, that the Father saw him. And while he was still yet a far ways off, the Father, when he took one step, the Father took three. And when he took one step, the Father just started running. He sees the boy. The boy does not even have time to give his speech the way he gave it in the pig pen. He was going to say, "Oh, Father, I'm not even worthy to be called your son. But if you would just make me a servant, I'll be glad with that." But the Father doesn't even hear him. He says, "Bring me the robe. Bring me the rings. Bring me the shoes. Boy, I don't need me a servant. I need me a son." Those that act that way, they're lost and they don't even know it. Because you cannot confuse motion with progress. The example of the older brother shows us you can be working in the Father's house and still be lost in the Father's house. And what I'm wondering this morning, because I've got to quit, I'm wondering how real we really are. I'm wondering if we are truly doing what God has called us to do. Because the truth of the matter is, I'm wondering, would you still love me if you knew where I came from? Would you still love me? And would you still call me preacher? Would you still give me high fives? Would you still call me brother? Would you still say that you love me if you knew where I came from? The bottom line is, we all have come from someplace. We've all come from someplace. And the truth of the matter is, if you knew where I've really been, would you still love me? Would you still call me preacher? Would you still want to hear me preach the gospel? Because this is what I used to look like. I used to come from the far country, and I am about sick and tired of people people in the house of God acting like their stuff don't stink. I come from the far country. I know who I am and I know whose I am, but I also don't forget where I came from. I had to come to myself and I had to get down. There was one day when I was down in a pig pen in a far country and I didn't know what I was going to do, but there was a day when I heard the Father say, come home. I got up to my feet and I decided I was going to turn around, and when I turned around, the Father was already there, and he took and said, bring forth the robe, bring forth the fatted calf. He took me, covered me. Why? Because love covers a multitude of sins, and he'll hold you in his arms. Then he'll restore you back to where you need to be. Come. Are you tired of doing it your way? Come. Is everything that you're doing not working? Come. Are you feeling like a failure? Come. Are you dirty? Come. Are you smelly? Come. Come.